Hi guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a 3D thumbnail like Keeoh using Blender and Photoshop. I also show you a few tips along the way and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so first we need to get our model. So I like to use Brainsy's pack, which if I was to go here, it's in my character. I can have all these linked down below and I'll have their channels linked down below as well. So I'm going to use Sage as just for a tutorial. Then we've got our Sage here. I want to import our animation through import PSA. The link to Rowan's model pack will have all of these. This is just in the AK, so equipables, guns, AK and anims, and you'll be able to find it here. So I like to use the equip upper body. As you can see, we have Sage here, but she's got movement. So I like to go to the frame I want to have Sage in that position and just delete all the keyframes and it will keep it in that position. As Sage's face looks pretty great, we need to highlight all the keyframes by pressing W until we see this ring, and now holding shift and we just highlight all the bones in the face, and then press Alt G and it fixes itself. So now we need to go into object mode, and if I was just to move it all now, as you can see the mag doesn't stay in place, so we want to just press the bones and we can move it perfectly. Okay, so now we need to adjust it into Sage's hands, which is a bit tedious but we can try. So usually what I like to do is I like to line up the gun, the trigger with the trigger finger, which usually just puts the whole thing into place. If I was to make sure it's all lined up like this, now as you can see the hand is fine and it is all looking pretty good already. As you can see there is a bit of cutting and we can make a few adjustments like moving the fingers or whatever to fit it, and you can do small adjustments, but just for this tutorial sake we're not going to do that. You guys can. So yeah, just go into post mode and do what you want, but this is good for now. So now I want to set up the camera view and we want to set up the angle that we want to picture Sage from. So I kind of like this one, so shift A and go into camera. Now press Alt, Control and O on your numpad at the same time. Okay, so now camera view. Now we've got the correct camera view that I want for this anim. Usually you don't want the gun to clip, so you want the whole gun in frame, and then you can obviously adjust the angle, or kind of not the angle, but adjust where Sage is placed in Photoshop. So I like this angle. So first off, we want to now add our lighting. So I want to always try rendering cycles. Cycle is best lighting and it's just the best detail for your anims. You can adjust all this from my tutorial on best blender settings, but I'm just going to go through this quick. On thumbnails, I like to use 600 samples. I like to use 1440p for just that extra detail, and always put your frame start to 1, and obviously I'm going to just call Sage Tut for now, but obviously you can name that wherever you want. Motion down, color depth to max. That's all the general settings you want. Oh yeah, and film, transparent background. Okay, so now if we go into our rendered view, by pressing this button up here, you can see it's looking quite dark. So now we want to add our lighting. So if I was to press camera view again, this basically makes so you can just automatically adjust. Okay, so now we've got this, we want to first add our first point light. So we want to add an area, so shift A, light area. Now put it over here. So our first one was to be to the right of Sage and a little under, pointing at about her chest. So about pointing to her chest. And if we go into our render view, we can see the lighting. I like to tend to have this on 50 and drip out a nice cream colour for our first one. So we can use a 3-point lighting, which they tend to use in movies and that. So then we press Shift D, which will copy it, drag it to the other side, to the left of Sage, and have it so it's slightly below this one. And then adjust this so it goes a bit higher. Now we want to rotate it by pressing this and put it back to the same place as the last one. Okay, now we want to adjust this to about 15, and as you can see, this is the main light and this is targeting the shadows. So if I was just to hide this, the shadows are extremely dark, but this kind of brightens them a little. Let's adjust this to about 5. I think 5 is pretty good, and I like to put this down to quite a nice orange. Now our last one's going to be behind Sage, so what I like to do is Shift D again to copy it, put it behind Sage, and you can either R, Y should work, but obviously you can just go like that. So now I'm going to pop this binder, and this one needs to be the brightest light. So we need to aim it to the back of her, and I recommend to put it to a nice blue, kind of light blue colour, and about 500. So it looks very bright here, but if we were to go in the camera view, it adds a nice highlight to the back, as you can see. So that's nice. Now lastly, we need to go into our world settings, environment texture, go into HDRI, and I'm going to use this bind, which will be in the description as well. So as you can see, it gives some nice lighting. If I was to increase that, I'd go extremely bright, but we don't want that. I'm going to adjust about 1.5 and maybe make this light slightly more orange. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. One more thing now is you want to click on our camera, click depth of field in this, and I tend to put this, so you want the gun to be in focus but Sage not to be in focus. That's just a zoom in so it's clearer. As you can see, our gun's in focus but Sage isn't, which I quite like this effect. Put this to about 4 and Blaze to 6. That's what 4, Blaze to 6. I mean, you can adjust it so Sage is a little clearer. I mean, I'm going to keep it about 4.5 for now. Focal length, I like to adjust about 70 usually. Let's draw this back slightly to camera to view, and now we're going to have to adjust our distance again slightly. Now I'm going to go into my gun properties, go into shader editor down here, drag this up slightly, zoom in, and I like to put emission to about 50. So this only really works with stuff that has emission, but if I was to put this to 50, as you can see this lights up, there's an extra little thing you can do. So if we were to only render image, don't render anim, just render image. Alright, so now this is finished, we can go into our compositing tab, and even if you don't know what this is, press use nose here. It's very easy to know, just to do this simple thing. So first we're going to apply a viewer node, so shift A and put in a viewer. Attach this to the image, and as we can see, Sage is in the background. Now we want to add a glare node, which if we put here, as you can see it looks pretty disgusting right now. We're going to change this to fog glow, and it acts like a little bit of Eevee. So if I just set this to 10 and set the size to about 6, it gives a nice glow on the gun. Yeah, I quite like that, and then maybe 11. And you can either have it as medium or high, but don't put it down to low, as low looks terrible. Maybe we can put it at high for now and size to about 8. So just adjust it to your preference, and yeah, have it which you would like. I'm going to keep it about that because I think that's good. And finally, you want to take away from viewer, as this isn't actually affecting the thing, and composite is your final, so you want to put it in between your image and your kind of composite, which is the final. So now you're done, this is looking good, and we're going to go into Photoshop. So render this out, and yeah. Okay, so now you can go into Photoshop, and you can use my pack, which will make it easier just to get everything and follow this tutorial on. So first of all, you want to drag in the image you rendered in Blender. So I'm going to drag in this one I just quickly made earlier. We want to hide this silk GFX layer by clicking the eye. And now as you can see, we've got this on a random background. If now to click Val screenshots, this is by Rockland, so I'll have his YouTube in the description. So now we can unhide layers or whatever. So first of all, I like to just drag, click and scroll down all the way down to the bottom. So now all these layers are, all these screenshots are hidden. Now you can scroll through and choose which ones you prefer. So just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to quickly choose. Let's just choose this one. So on Haven. Okay, so you just have to click the eye and it will open. So first of all, you want to grab your Sage, and you kind of want to just go into filter, camera raw filter, and you want to kind of fit with the background. So on Haven, it's kind of a little lighter blue. I'd say maybe a little pink tint. And yeah, so now she's a little more fitted into Haven. So now we want to grab the map that we just chose and put it underneath our Sage clip. So now we want to shift click and hold them both. Merge layers. So now these are both merged. So if I was to hide this, they're both. So now we're going to go into filter, camera raw filter, so we can do some color correction. And as you can see, now they're together. So don't worry about that for now. So then we can adjust temperature, we can adjust tint. So just play around these settings, as there's no perfect settings really, unless you want to copy these, but I tend to put highlight shadows down. Yeah, we'll just speed through this. Okay, so this is good for now, and I'll keep it like that. So now, as we can see, we've got quite a few things we got in our pack. So we've got some particles, which you can obviously mess around with these, but for the sake of this, I'm going to use this particle. So first of all, of course it looks pretty horrible right now, you can go into our blending options, and I tend to put it as soft light. It still doesn't look the best, but we can make some changes. So as well, I like to lower the opacity down so it's not as kind of vibrant on our scene. Then I like to click down here, click this, and hue and saturation. Now we want to click our top one, right click it, create clipping mask, and now this effect will only apply to this particle. So now we want to double click and we can mess around the settings. I'm going to put it to more blue to fit kind of Sage. And also you can click layers, mess around with settings by clicking particle, maybe turn the opacity slightly up. But yeah, that's good for now. Okay, so next thing we want to do is light leaks. This is a great one to do. So I like to have this blue, but you can mess around, obviously whatever you want. I'm going to put this Control T. If you can Control T while holding this, right click, Shift Control T, right click, and you can flip horizontal. So now as you can see, it's on this side. I think that's more a better side just for this, but obviously you can mess around the settings. And since our muzzle's going to be here, and maybe we can add like a flash later on, I'm going to enable this, right click, flip vertical, so just to put it up here. And now I think that's fine for light leaks. So obviously you can have loads of stuff, brushes, you can have this, you can mask it, but that's for another time. Now I like his flares. So as you can see, it kind of, if you appear these, it gives nice flares. So I'm just going to appear this one, click it, Control T, and you can move it. I'm going to put it on the gun, which looks quite weird, looks like it's just firing. Okay. Now I'm going to click onto my scene of Sage in the background, make sure it's clicked. I can just close down that. Now go into filter, blur, radial blur, and I recommend a setting about 2. As you can see, it adds a blur on the outside, and I think it gives a more kind of in-game and kind of nice cinematic look. So obviously you can keep adjusting and these settings, but this is kind of the basic bit. So yeah, thanks for watching, and tell me in the comments below what you think of the video. Peace.